Welcome to Swish Theory. We are back. My name is Chris Amundsen. I'm hosting once again with my co-pilot, Mr. Larro Golden, Mr. Coach Golden. How you doing, man? It's been a long time. I'm really glad to be back on the mic with you. How you feeling?
Man, I'm doing really well. It's been too long, and I'm really happy to be back. We got some basketball, some real basketball coming up tomorrow. I'm ecstatic to be back, man. It's going to be really fun to get back to, talking to my brother again about these NBA teams, but mostly the Chicago Bulls that we both love. So, man, this is going to be fun, man. I can't wait, man.
I know last season we were going through different teams every week. It was really fun to kind of get a deep dive into different teams, their schemes, their players, talk to knowledgeable people about teams. But I really felt like we should get back to our roots, talking about the Bulls, because I know you and I are both very passionate and probably most knowledgeable about the Bulls of any team. And I honestly just missed it. I missed doing Bulls 101 with you. It's been a long time. We had to shut down Bulls 101 because you went and got a big boy job in basketball. And I know you're still doing coaching. I'm still doing my lawyering thing, which is not as exciting as basketball, but just missed it. So we're going to get right back into it. We want to talk about the Bulls. We've gone through 5 preseason games. The team came back mostly intact. They re-signed Kobe White, re-signed Nikola Vucevic. They brought on Javon Carter, Torrey Craig, and drafted Julian Phillips, who would look pretty good in the preseason. But the general team is basically the same as it was last year. And this front office has high expectations once again, or at least expectations to make the playoffs is their stated goal, to be competitive, to get more W's than last year. These are all kind of quotes from them. And I'm interested to see, and I know you got a lot of thoughts on this, the general team outlook from this year versus last year, because not a lot has changed. Why should we expect the Bulls to be better this year or different this year than last year? Like what's driving that change?
Well, Chris, I believe this team or the front office is expecting the 2 new key additions of Torrey Craig and Javon Carter to really bring, a two-way player type feel where, both of those guys shoot the three pretty well. And they both play defense pretty well. So I think adding some more guys on this roster that can really shoot the three more is something that they're hoping to help change the shot profile for this team. It remains to be seen because, in the preseason, it didn't really seem like they were generating them, but I feel like they weren't making a ton of them. So we'll see how it goes. But I think for the most part, I think they're hoping that those 2 guys come in. They still bring the defense that can help them stay. Maybe they're not top 5 like they were last year, but maybe they stay in the top 10 somewhere around there, and also be able to help this team shoot the three better as a whole. So I think the shot profile is something that they're hoping that can change to help this team win some more ball games.
Yeah, that shot profile has been the buzzword of the offseason for sure. The front office addressed it, saying they needed more 3-point shooting. They like to cite that 14-9 record with Pat Bev in the post break lineup, and they were pretty good. Zach LaVine was on a tear second half of the season, really since December. He started to look like himself again. Kind of worked his way back into shape from that offseason knee surgery, and we saw a lot of growth from Kobe White. Patrick Williams developed from when his first year, obviously he missed most of his second, but his first year, he was basically theory only. He was a theoretical player, but not really a productive NBA player. And he turned himself this last year into a consistent 3-point shooter and a really effective big wing defender, especially one-on-one against, kind of bigger wings. So a lot of growth from those young guys. They re-signed Kobe. I forgot to mention they re-signed Ayo as well. And Ayo had kind of an up and down last season. I really think that it's overstated how much he struggled. If you look at his 3-point percentage, his attempts are almost the same, and his makes versus misses are really a pretty small sample size. So I know we thought he really struggled from 3, but ultimately I think he's still a really good point of attack defender. He's really good at getting around screens. We saw in the preseason he was gobbling up offensive boards. So I'm glad that they locked him up. You see a lot of extensions going out this week for the 2020 class, and seeing a lot of these different amounts going around. I feel pretty good about the IO contract. It was a little bit more than I thought they would pay him, but ultimately I think it's better to retain talent. I think they've made that mistake too many times with Lowry, with Wendell, with letting talent walk out the door, and Jimmy Butler, who they traded. So it's good to kind of lock up those guys. And, it ultimately, as you said, the team isn't different, but the scheme has got to change. Their shot profile has to change. And so one of the big focuses of Billy Donovan, which I completely agree with him, is getting more stuff in the paint, getting penetration into the paint, get into the paint, and then make a decision from there. You're going to get more fouls drawn. You're going to get more shots at the cup. And then you're going to get kick-out threes. And I think, if you agree with me, that first quarter against the Bucks, we really saw it kind of all play out in the way that we wanted to, that first preseason game. But since then, it looks like the same old Bulls. And if you look at their three-point, they were last in three-point attempts all last season. They were last in three-point attempts in the preseason. And it really looked very, very similar on offense. Their defense dropped a lot in the preseason. It's just preseason, right? You don't want to take too much from it. The only thing that really stood out to me was the offensive rebounding, which I think they were third or fourth in the preseason. But I think the front office is really banking on that continuity of players to be familiar with each other. But it's really going to be on Billy, I think, to institute these scheme changes and make sure that stuff actually sticks and that they're not just reverting back to their old ways. And I think one of the things I keep hearing all the time is that, hey, we know who Zach, Vooch, and DeMar are. We can't expect anything different from them. They kind of are who they are. And in some respects, I agree. But I think in other respects, hey, these are your three best players. They have to institute change. They have to be the drivers of that change if you really want to make your team better. You want to make your team different. You can't rely on these role players. As good as the role players they brought in are, I'm really happy with the two role players they brought in Javon Carter and Torrey Craig. But ultimately, your stars have to be the drivers of change. And so I do think we should expect sacrifices from Zach LaVine, from DeMar, from Vooch. And on that note, I want to see for those three players, I know you've got a lot of ideas on how to kind of change things up offensively for them. What would you like to see them sacrifice or change about their games this year in order to drive the change that Billy Donovan and the front office is looking for?
Well, I thought in the preseason, one of the things that I wanted to see from Zach LaVine was a continued, I will say, a consistent effort to apply pressure to the rim. And I thought in the preseason as a whole, all the games, I thought he did a really good job of kind of balancing, when he should be the guy taking the shot, when he should take an extra dribble to draw help and kick it out. And I think that sometimes is a tough balance for star offensive players like Zach LaVine, where it's, I can score here, I can score here, I can score here. But I think the type of ability that Zach has to use his first step and his quickness and his explosiveness to get into the paint, to get these defenses into rotation would help this team a ton. And last year when we were, potting, that was kind of one of my things with Zach, is I was saying that, like, he was, this is before Kobe also, we started to see more of an improved Kobe with his ball handling. But before then, it was kind of like Zach was the only guy that could do that, was to consistently get into the paint whenever he wanted to. And I think it starts with that to me. I think Zach LaVine definitely needs to shoot more threes. He definitely, I would love to see him up around 10. Shoot, that would be great if he can get around there. But I also need to see him continue to apply pressure to the rim, use that ability that he has to get to the rim, draw help, kick it out, either find Patrick in a corner, swing, you got Kobe, swing again, and now you're attacking closeouts and getting teams in rotations like that. That is what you want to do. You don't want to settle for those. And again, like, DeMar DeRozan is a star. He yes, that mid-range pull up, his mid-range game at the elbows, free throw line area. That's what he does. That's what he is. But you would like to see your, like you said, you want to see your stars be the driver of the car. You want to see them be the engine. And for him, I would like to see him to continue to attack the paint. Yeah, still do your thing at the elbow and that area, but at times get deeper into that paint and kick out, drive and kick. Kind of, when this team was first put together, I think we all thought, okay, we didn't think DeMar DeRozan would be a guy that would come. We all knew that there was some stuff going on with Lonzo, and we were like, okay, Lonzo was probably going to be a Chicago Bull, and he turned out to be that way. But DeMar DeRozan, at least for me, I did not think that was something that was on the table. But once he was, when you went back to that last season with the Spurs, that was exactly what you wanted. You wanted him to be that kind of playmaker, off the dribble, late game guy that doesn't turn the ball over, that can get into the paint when he wants, kick it, find guys. And I think after the Lonzo Ball injury, Zach having that injury, he kind of had to turn into that score, that primary number one guy to score the ball. And you saw games here and there where DeMar would, more than here and there, but you saw games where DeMar was at facilitator. But I would like to see that more often, and trust getting into the paint, trusting and finding shooters. So the biggest thing for me is rim pressure. Continue to have rim pressure. The second thing is take your shots when you have them. Okay, take your threes. Don't turn them down. Me, myself, as a Patrick Williams guy, as you are also a Patrick Williams guy, yes, there are times where he definitely doesn't take those threes. We need to see him shoot that three. We need to see Io shoot the three. We need to see guys, when they have it, shoot the ball. Just shoot the ball. Excuse me. And the second thing for me, the third thing for me would be I'm on the side of what Billy was talking about in terms of offensive rebounding, because Io, like you brought it up as well, he's one of those athletic, energy, never stops moving type of players. So you want to see guys like him and Caruso, guys, just attack and using that speed and quickness to get to the glass. So just attacking the offensive glass is one thing I'd like to see them continue to do. And I think that's one of the things they did well in the preseason was actually offensive rebound. So I'd love to see that trend continue. So those are the three things I'm looking for offensively for the Bulls. And I'm hoping, and here's the thing, Chris, like I gotta be honest now. Like I got my, I got my thought, my what's the public, the PC thoughts out, right? Like what we all want to see and what we all hope to happen. But my problem is, Chris, all of these changes, or I shouldn't say all of these, the changes that they're talking about, right? The offensive rebounding, the getting into the paint and kicking it out. Like this is not Billy coming into the season and saying, yeah, we're gonna go into a more, we're gonna be starting to run more sets, and we're gonna be running flex off and whatever it is. Like that's different. Okay, yeah, guys got to learn the offense. They got to learn a new philosophy. But these are things that are not like the things that he's looking for this team to do better are not things that takes a whole off season. It's not. These are not things that should take a whole summer of just guys. We gotta. These are things that NBA professional basketball players, right? Hey guys, look, we got to get into the paint more. So hey, Zach, we need you to get downhill. Hey, DeMar, we need you to get downhill. It shouldn't take a whole off season for that. So I'm saying that to say is I'm not really optimistic that this is going to change. I'm not really, I'm not optimistic that this is going to be different, because these are things again that could have been done last season, and I just don't think these things are going to change. I think this team is going to resort to what they, I should say, the star players. Okay, they're going to resort to who they are, right? Zach, hopefully, now that he's healthy, he's going to be that guy taking a lot more threes and being that offensive star. But as for DeMar, he can tell me all he wants he's going to take more threes. But I don't believe that he will. I think that, he's going to do what he does. He's going to do what he does. And I'll just leave it at that, right? I'm not optimistic. I think the offense is going to look the same. I think they're going to revert back to who they really are, and that's just how I feel. You know me. I'm usually optimistic. I'm usually the guy that is always talking about, hey, hopefully they can do this, but I just watching this team, I just don't. I'm not optimistic, Kris. I don't know. Maybe you could talk me off the ledge or something.
I mean, I think after that first quarter, I was excited. But after 5 preseason games, we saw a lot of the same. And so I think the most likely result is that it's going to continue to be the same. That it's going to continue to be the same because it has been the same. And they've been okay with that. As you said, they could have addressed all this stuff last offseason, like a year and 3 months ago. And they didn't. They even said at the time, we need more shooting and we need rim protection. And they did neither of those things. They didn't change anything about their team. They went into the last season thinking they were going to have Lonzo Ball at some point. They didn't. They didn't really prepare for it. And then this season, they said, we want to be competitive, but we're not going to move Lonzo Ball, even though he's not going to be here all year. That's $20 million of dead money on the books as far as, putting your roster together. So I think there's a lot of reasons to be pessimistic. And I think the national media and most people that watch the Bulls or kind of watch the Bulls more peripherally have kind of written them off as a, slightly below 500 team that really needs to be changed, needs big changes. And I think there's a lot of proponents of that. And I think you and I have been on that page for quite some time that there's really not a lot of point to what they're doing in the long term. There's some short-term benefits, which is, it's more exciting basketball to watch a 40 to 45 win team than a 20 to 25 win team. But it really depends on what you're selling. And to me, it's what am I watching this for? Am I watching it just to have fun right now, or am I really invested in these players? Am I invested in this team? And I don't see a lot of reason to invest in this team. And the players that I think that they should invest in, like Kobe and Pat, their development's taken a long time. Like Kobe is now in his 5th year, right? He's starting his 5th year. Pat's starting his 4th year. And, up until recently, people were saying we should trade Kobe. We should trade Kobe. People are online right now are calling Patrick Williams a bust. They're just saying, and people are clamoring for more development for these guys. So there is a lot of reason to be pessimistic. Now, I do think that there are some positives to take. Number one, we've seen DeMar in a role in San Antonio that's more like we want to see. We've also seen Vooch in a more kind of offensive hub role. Now, he said this all offseason that he wants to do that more. He wants the ball in his hands more. He wants to be a facilitator. He's probably the best passer on the team. I don't think everyone really disputes that. I didn't see a lot of it in preseason. We'll see if that changes. Zach was getting downhill. He was driving consistently. He was getting downhill aggressively in the preseason. He only played 3 of the 5 games. One of them he was resting. Another one he had like an illness, I think.
Yeah.
So we did see that his 3-point percentage wasn't that great, but he was shooting it. I thought Pat looked good shooting threes. He was still turning stuff down. We'll talk about Pat a little bit more later in depth. I thought Kobe looked really, really good. He looked like he picked up right off where he came off of last season and more. I think his handle has improved. His decision making has improved. I think his defensive has improved, especially his screen navigation. I think is way better. And something that you could hear on the floor was his communication. He was calling stuff out to guys. He's growing into his role as a leader a lot more in his 5th year. And so, I'm pretty excited about Kobe. So we can talk about Kobe a little bit. I thought he may start, but I thought they were going to go with Javon Carter. But I kind of like what they're doing. I see the vision with this. Number one, you get Zach and DeMar and Vooch more used to off-ball roles. You also get 5 guys on the floor that can create their own shot. With those 4 guys and Patrick Williams, they can all create their own shot. They're not offensive zeros, right? And Kobe can really put the ball on the floor. He can create stuff. He has gotten so much craftier in the lane. He was such a quick north to south athlete but he wasn't as good at kind of the herky-jerky, get the guy on your back hip, put him in jail kind of stuff. He wasn't as good at that. I think, I think the reason why, in large part, was because his ball handling was too loose. And now that he's really tightened up that ball handle, I think he's opened himself up to a lot more tools to use in the lane to kind of get himself open, get teammates open. I think he's always been kind of an underrated passer. Like he's always been a pretty good decision maker. I know people whined about his turnovers as a starter, but his assist to turnover ratio has always been really good. He's had these flashes. I know early in the 2021 season, he had like a 14 assist night, he had a 10 assist night. Like he was doing some really good stuff. So I think now that he's really kind of honed his skill, and it's always harder for point guards, and he's kind of been jerked around in his role. I think he's really kind of come on as a potential two-way player. I think his defense has come up to the point where it's not really an issue anymore. And in some aspects, I think he's a positive out there. I think his size is going to limit him a little bit as far as his wingspan, but he's 6'5". He's crafty. He's athletic. Yeah, he can get it done. Like he's not going to be a sieve on that end. So at first I thought Carter was going to start because he's got the 3-point shooting and he's got the defense. But, at this point, I'm kind of in for the more offensive, offensive oriented lineup, and we'll see what happens with it. But he's the one guy that I'm really encouraged with right now. I was really high on him last year when everyone else wanted to trade him. And I'm higher on him this year. I think he's going to have a great year. What do you think about Kobe and his development after I've just completely taken the wind out of your sails on it?
No, man. No, it's all good because, dude, I think Kobe White has been my good. Even last season, towards the end of the year, you could see the difference. You could see the confidence growing. You could see him just being, more, confident is the word. He was just confident in his role. He was confident in his game. And to your point, about being able to, play more, changing of the speeds and being able to come off the pick and roll and play with different pace. I think he's finally doing that, and not just flashes of it. He's doing it consistently. And watching some clips from his rookie year and trying to, comparing it to this year, I think his rookie year, I think he talked about it, in terms of he always just used to just be the fastest guy on the floor, and he'd be able to do whatever he wanted to do because he beat dudes easy. And I think he learned a lesson. Sometimes he won in his rookie year, and a lot of times he lost. But I think when you go back and you look at those clips, a lot of times, man, he come off a pick and roll from Wendell Carter, and there'd be times where he's going so fast off the pick and roll that there was a lob there, right? But then he's throwing a bounce pass at his foot. There's a turnover. And he'll come off again. And he tries to, instead of continue again, throw the ball at the rim for Wendell Carter Jr. to go get it and dunk it. He'd try to lead him, and then it'd be too far, and then it's a turnover. And a lot of those turnovers stemmed from being a little too fast, playing the game a little too fast, and just speed. And I think that's the biggest difference for me when you talk about, the pace that he plays. Right now, the guy is, changing his speeds. He's able to use his speed as a weapon. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I talk to a lot of my guards that I train now. If you're fast, I love it, but use it as a weapon. Hey, maybe you walk the ball up, and then once the guy, takes his eye off you for 1 second to check if a screen is there, now use that speed to blow by. When you come off a screen, maybe you slow play it, get out, put him on the hip, you snake the pick and roll, the big steps up. Now you blow by the big and you get to the rim, so he's now using his speed as a weapon. And I love that because it's only going to make the game, it's going to help him so much in his game. The shooting, the pull-up shooting, I think he's shooting about, I think that I like what he said, and I believe it was the media day where he said he was working on shoot off the dribble a lot in the summer. And I thought that was dope because we always think of Kobe as just a catch and shoot player, catch and shoot type of guy, and only being able to attack closeouts. Well, I think it was perfect for him to be really key in on shoot off the dribble, especially if his handles are now, like you mentioned, they're now allowing him to be more of a primary ball handler kind of, player in spurts, and being able to play off the pick and roll, being able to beat guys off the dribble. So now him being able to, shoot a pull up or come off a screen, take a side step, being able to play that way is only going to help this offense, because we've always, me and you especially, we've always talked about, man, we'd love to see Zach LaVine in off-ball roll. We'd love to see him coming off pin downs. We'd love to see him, being used like a Devin Booker, or, like, now that Kobe is taking that next step as a player, now you could put the ball in Kobe's hands and say, hey, Zach, let's run off some of these pin downs. Let's run off a stagger. Hey, Zach, let's run you off a gut screen, and I'm excited about it because, again, like you, I thought it was going to be Javon. But now that you get to see Javon more, he's not really a point guard. He's not really, that's not his role. So him being able to be in a lineup where he can play, off ball, and just space the floor and attack closeouts that way, and then make the next secondary play. That's more of what he wants to do, what he's good at. And so I think we always talked about, Kobe and Pat being like the ceiling raisers for this team if they take another step, or maybe it might be more than another step, might be 2 steps they might need. But I think Kobe's on his way to taking that step that we hope that he can take to help this. Even if he doesn't, go to like, I don't know, like most improved player or something like that, that's totally fine. But I'm just saying, like, to take this team to another level, we're hoping for a little bit more. But I think Kobe is right where he needs to be. Dude is playing some good ball right now, and he's confident. You could just tell he's smiling, he's joking on the floor, he's more vocal. So yeah, man. I mean, I'm right there with you, man. I'm excited for Kobe, man. I really am. I really, really am.
I think for Kobe, and we've said this so many times, it's always been about the things he doesn't do, right? People always knew Kobe as a scorer or as a shooter. I mean, even Billy Donovan said that early on in his career. He's like, hey, he's kind of, I would describe him as a scorer rather than a shooter. And for us, it was always, all right, but when he's not scoring the ball, what is he doing to help the team? And those are always the things that we kind of found lacking in this game. And I think what he's quietly done is, despite his points per game and stuff not really going up, in fact, I think he had one of his lowest. He didn't even reach 10 points per game last year. But he improved everywhere else. His defense, his screen navigation, his communication, his off-ball defense, his rebounding, his decision-making, his ball handling. As you said, like, using his speed as a weapon, using it as a tool rather than just firing it like a shotgun, right? He's more precise. And so now it's, when you put Kobe on the floor, it's not, well, if he's not putting up 8 points in 5 minutes, then we're losing his minutes. You don't worry about that anymore. He's a competent basketball player, an all-around solid player. And to have that, I mean, the Bulls haven't had a guy like that at this point in his career and on this good of a contract, which he just signed. I think that contract is a steal on day one, and I think it's going to get better as it ages, especially with these contracts coming out. But I think Kobe's in a really good spot, and I'm so glad that he's kind of found his footing, because he's always been talented. But I think people love to put ceilings on young players really quickly. Yeah. And people always said, well, Kobe's like maybe he's like a discount 6 man, or maybe he's like a really good 6 man at best, but he can't do this, he can't do that. And I'm always so hesitant to do that to young players, as you know. Mm-hmm. So I'm really glad to see that what Kobe has done so well is identified the parts of his game that he really needed to work on, and he worked on them. When he was working last offseason, when he said, I'm working on my ball handling and I'm working on my defense, I'm like, this guy knows exactly what he needs to do to improve. Yeah. He knows his skill set. He knows where he's lacking. He's focused. He did it. And now, it's borne fruit. And moving along to the other young guy that we're excited about, Patrick Williams, I think Pat needs that same kind of focus. And there's a lot to go off of with Pat, but I think, first of all, what people forget is and now and everyone's going to call me an apologist for saying this, but Patrick Williams has played 2 seasons of basketball. 2. I know he's in his 4th year. He missed almost all of his 2nd year. I know I'm not trying to use it as an excuse. I'm providing context that his 1st year, he was drafted number 4 on a rebuilding team where he was going to be featured. Halfway through that year, they decided, we're not doing that anymore. We're going to ship out Wendell Carter, bring in Vooch. We're going to reshape our team. We're going to be competitive now. And his role completely changed. He missed all of that 2nd year, other than 4 games in the beginning or 5 games in the beginning and another dozen at the end. And then he goes right into the playoffs. And in that playoffs, if you remember, they played 5 games. He scored 20 points in 2 of those 5 games in his 2nd year. But he was still, to me, not an NBA player. It was all theoretical. Last year, he came in and they said, here's your role. You're going to take threes. You're going to defend. He worked all year on that. He played all 82. And what did he get really good at? He became a really good perimeter on-ball defender, and he became a really reliable three-point shooter. He's now a career 41% three-point shooter. He doubled his attempts last year. So we've seen Patrick, and I think the reason why people are frustrated with Patrick is because they see potential in him.
Yeah.
If people thought he was Tony Snell, they wouldn't care about it that much. And Tony Snell was a fine NBA, kind of 8th to 10th man on an NBA bench. He could shoot some threes, he could defend, not a whole lot else going on there. If that was the case with Patrick Williams, and a lot of people do think that's the case with Patrick Williams, I think people wouldn't care as much. They wouldn't be so upset about it. They wouldn't be so upset about his rebounding and, whether or not he needs on-ball reps. And so there are some people that think he has zero potential to be anything more than he is now. But to me, it's all right, he's 22. He just turned 22. He's played 2 NBA seasons, and he went from a completely he was a project and a non-NBA player his first year. I'll admit it. I think he was just bad his first year. But you could see a lot there. You can see a lot of potential. In his 2nd year, his second playing year, which was last year, he became a quality NBA rotation player. That's a big jump. But people think he's too slow. His growth is too slow. He's not doing things fast enough. He's not doing the Javonte Green role in the way that he should. So, we know that Pat did not get extended today. That doesn't surprise me. The Bulls haven't extended anybody on the team, I think, since Derrick Rose and someone said maybe Taj Gibson. That was 2010. So it's been 13 years since they extended anybody. They always wait until restricted free agency or free agency to do anything. They did it the same way with Vooch. They're going to do it with DeMar probably. They did it with Zach twice. They did it with Kobe. They did it with Ayo. They did it with Jimmy Butler. They're going to do it with Patrick. So that doesn't surprise me, but I do think, and I'm gone on a little bit of a Pat rant, but I do think people need to be a little bit patient with him, that he's had 2 years of NBA experience. He's trying to fit a role that is not really ideal for him, but he's got plenty of time to do it. He's got plenty of time to be better at that role. And I think we just need to kind of slow down. No one is going to care in 5 years about whether he got 2 rebounds or 5 rebounds a game this year. I don't really think that stuff matters. I think we're getting way too caught up in that kind of minutia. Let's just let him develop, let him grow. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be over summer. It's not going to be, even over the first few years as we've seen. But how many times have we got to watch this movie where we're shipping out good players that we're waiting. We're too impatient on. We saw it with Lowry. It took him to his 3rd team in his 6th year to get there. It's taken Kobe till his 5th year to kind of become a decent NBA player. And even then he's getting $11 million a year. It's not a whole lot. So I think, I'm always unwilling to put a hard ceiling on a young player, especially one who's grown so much. I really think that Larro, and I'm not sure if you agree with me, but I really think Patrick from year 1 to year 3 in those 2 actual seasons of playing basketball, he really took a big leap as far as his productivity on the floor. Even though his numbers didn't change much like Kobe, I thought he was a completely improved player across the board. Still got a lot to work on. A lot. Let's be real honest. He's got a lot to work on. His finishing at the rim is not good. His ball handling, you could see it. You could see the flashes, but he's dribbling the ball off his foot. He's a little too loose at the handle still. He's got stuff like that. His rebounding, his demeanor, or his kind of motor have been called into question many times. Like, there's still plenty to work on here, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, let's appreciate that we've got a really quality 22-year-old big wing that can shoot and defend at this age with only 2 years of experience. I think based on where he was when he was drafted, a bench player that was a project, I think we've come, a pretty decent way. And I think he should be proud of the progress that he's made so far. So after that, 15-minute rant, is there, do you agree with me, or where do you think that people are missing the forest? Like, they're not seeing the forest for the trees here on Patrick Williams?
Man. So how should I attack this? So I think people have to go all the way back to when he was drafted, and then maybe even a little bit before that, to take a look. Just take a look. Go watch a few of his Florida State games, and you'll come back and you'll understand that, okay, this kid did a lot of things well, little flashes of everything. He showed flashes of being able to, play some pick and roll and attack, off the bounce. He showed flashes of being able to be a good pull-up shooter, which he showed flashes in NBA of being. He showed flashes of being a good three-point shooter, which he's turned out to be a really good three-point shooter. Showed flashes of weak side rim protection, and he still needs to get a little bit better there. But I think, even watching in the preseason, I felt like he was a lot better already of just being where he needs to be early rather than be getting there late. And I think that was a really good sign that I was paying attention to. The being able to be a switchable defender, that was something that he showed, especially the biggest game to me when I was watching a lot of his prospect tape is his game against Cole Anthony. And he absolutely shut Cole Anthony down, and that was another high. People had a lot of stock in Cole Anthony as a player going into the NBA. So it was really cool to see him do that. And then when he was drafted, the whole point of drafting a guy like Patrick Williams is saying to your fan base, hey, look, we love this kid. He's got a long way to go, but we believe that with our development, with giving him reps, he will become the player that we think he can be. Okay, you don't draft a guy like Patrick to say, yeah, we're only going to give you about half a season, and then we're going to put you in this role. If that's the case, you draft a guy that's ready-made for the role that you want, and then, okay, let's see if he adds a little bit more than that, like a Mikal Bridges. Like Mikal Bridges coming into the league, let's say, for instance, if he was there in the draft, that would be a no-brainer in that year in 2020, especially if you're going to, want to go to win now, because the two things he did well was shoot the three and attack closeouts. I mean, that was two of the things that he did well. He would insert play right now. He'd be able to be good at it. Pat was a guy that was coming off the bench in Florida State that Leonard Hamilton does a really good job with his guys in Florida State. Guys that are big wings like Pat, they usually go there. Scotty Barnes, Bobby Clintman. John Butler Jr. There's Matt Cleveland. There's a bunch of big wings that go to Leonard Hamilton that end up usually in the NBA. Matt Cleveland may not. But the thing is, I think sometimes we forget, just because they were drafted in the lottery, that means they're supposed to be good now. And it's like, when you draft a raw guy like Pat, it takes time. And sometimes some fans understand that. Some fans don't. And it's okay if you don't. But if you don't, you got to understand that what he needs. And you alluded to it, Pat he's not by nature a catch and shoot guy. He's by nature a guy that wants to catch, attack closeouts, and attack the rim. He wants to get to his pull-up jump shot. That was something that Pat always did. When he's attack, closeout, get to his pull-up jump shot. We got to think about who his favorite player is, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi, he's not somebody that's applying pressure to the rim all the time. He's attacking, getting to his pull-up. He's getting to the mid-post, bang, bang, turn around jump shot. We got to understand that this kid needed reps. He still needs reps. But the thing is, they put him in this box of, hey, we got to be we need you to be a 3-and-D wing, which again you brought up perfectly. Like, he's gotten better at those two things. There's still a lot of room to grow. Like I said, I want to see him become a more consistent weak side rim protector. And I think this in this preseason, in those 5 games, I know everybody's looking at the offensive side, but if you take a look at the defensive side, you see him being in the right positions. Like, instead of being a foot, 2 feet out of the paint when a pick and roll is coming, this guy's body is already beneath the rim. And he's doing the whole NBA, being used to the NBA, where he steps in, boom, takes a step out, steps in, takes a step out. Like, you could tell there's certain things about him that you could tell he's starting to get comfortable with how this league is played. I'm just excited. I think he's going to have a really good defensive year. And I think offensively, we're just going to have to see how things go. I think the biggest thing for us is we got to see him shoot the ball. I mean, 3.4, I think he ended up last year at the end of the year. So somewhere around like 5 to 6. 6 would be great. Shoot, I mean, I know he went 0 for 7 the other night, but I mean, I wouldn't bet against him, not making a 3 if he has 7 attempts a lot in his career. So I'm excited. The biggest thing for me is I know that, Zach was out and, he took a lot of shots and he missed a lot of shots. But the biggest thing, guys, is he took a lot of shots like that. We need him to do that. We need to see him say, you know what, F it. I need to take these shots. I know I can make these shots. Guys go under screens, ball screens. I got to shoot the ball. I'm too good of a shooter. I got to shoot it. And if you fast forward back to I want to say the only summer league he could play in. The only summer league he could play in. A lot of what he was doing in that summer league is the Bulls were actually, I think they built that roster the right way in terms of giving him reps. They didn't really have another guy on the team outside of Io that really needed to really touch the ball. So a lot of it was Pat attacking off the bounce and getting to the rim. But if you pay attention to what he was doing, he was trying different finishes. It was a Euro extend or high off the glass. It was a Euro side step high off the glass with the left hand. Like, a lot of what he was doing was working on his finishes. And I think you can work on your finishing as much as you want in practice. But if you're not getting those reps, live game reps, it's going to be tough to improve. And that's why it's frustrating as a guy that, like Patrick, that everybody sees his body type. He's a big, burly guy. I shouldn't say burly. He's just a big, strong guy. And you see him, he's able to jump a little bit. But when he's driving off the bounce, a lot of that, guys, a lot of that is off of stride. When you're attacking off the bounce, you're jumping off of stride. That is where Pat struggles. He's not explosive off 1 foot jumping. He's explosive off 2 feet. So a lot of times when we get, a lot of, how does Pat not finish that dunk? That is him. You should understand that Pat is just not explosive off 1 foot. Now, if Pat was able to get to 2 feet, he's putting it on somebody's head. There's no doubt about that. But it's not a lot of times where you drive to the basket, get to 2 feet, and then jump. That's just not what a lot of people usually do. So that's the biggest thing with him. And in order to work on those things that you guys want him to work on, he needs reps. The thing is, the team's trying to win now, so the reps won't come. So you'll probably end up continue to be mad at the same things. So it's just one of those things, man. As somebody that loves to pay attention to development and just development, it's tough because you see when you see a player like Pat, you see what he needs to work on. And it's just an uphill battle, for him. So and to be honest with you, he's done a really good job, for the position he's been put in terms of, being a number 4 pick and team just pivoting away from that. Because usually when you got a top 5 pick, you're trying to make sure this is your guy. You're trying to make sure we didn't spend a pick on a guy that is just a role player, especially that high. So, and I know I'm rambling, but I know that certain people, they're going to hear that and they're going to be like, what do you mean he's in a bad situation? He's got, Vooch, he's got DeMar, and he's got Zach. when you say that, you got to think, guys. Like you're saying 3 guys that all need the ball in their hands to be successful, and they're not two-way guys. They're not like, so it's like it's a tough situation, and for the role, for the type of raw prospect he was coming into the league. So you just got to think about it. This game is made of roles, right? You gotta, if you want him to have pick and roll reps, well, okay, he has to be put in that role. But guess what? That role is done. That is occupied by Zach LaVine. That's occupied by Kobe White now with his improved ball handling. That's occupied by DeMar DeRozan. Are you, so it's just like it's tough. So we'll see how it goes going forward. But I'm hoping for the best for this guy, man. I think he's got a lot of talent, and I think there's a lot in there that just has kind of been untapped, if you will, because of the type of stuff he's had to do. So offensively. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I know I said a lot, but I'll leave it at that because sorry about that.
No, it's really important to remember. And there's certainly a lot that is on Pat, and it is on him to improve, because the opportunities aren't going to be presented to him in the way that he wants, right? Because of the situation the team is in, he's not going to be able to get that star role and the star reps that he wants, or that he would feel more comfortable being part of. So he's going to have to play that role guy. And, to be fair, he's done a pretty good job of it so far, shooting threes, playing defense. I think he needs to improve on both of those, but I think he's made good strides there. There's things that has not been as good at, come up, setting hard screens, dive into the basket for offensive rebounds. And I did think in the preseason, I thought, other than the game that Billy kind of took him out early, I thought he was doing a lot of that. I could see a concerted effort from him to try and dive for rebounds. Now, he wasn't getting a lot of rebounds necessarily, but I do think the effort was there. So it's not like he's not trying. I think he does realize what he needs to be doing. And to me, the rebounding, the numbers are not important to me. I know it's been made a story by like everybody for some reason, like this huge deal. Like no one is going to be like, well, Kawhi Leonard is just the greatest player. Well, he would have been the greatest player, but he only averaged 4 rebounds a game. Like no one cares about that. Like I understand it's important for him, but I don't think it's about the numbers. What I think it's about, the rebound is important because it shows his motor, his aggression, and allows him, to kind of grab and go in transition, because in transition, he's been pretty good. And I like that I've seen some more aggression from him when he gets the ball and goes in transition and just tries to take it right to the cup. That's encouraging. And so you want to see that consistently. So I think things we should expect from Pat is consistent effort. I think he should be, if the scheme calls for it, because I know Billy's got some guys crashing boards and some guys getting back. If he's on the crashing boards role, then he needs to be consistent about that. And, he needs to play consistent effort, and he needs to shoot when he's got the ball in those positions. I do love it. Like if he's shooting 6 or 7 threes, go ahead. Go over 7. That's fine.
Yeah.
You shoot 7 open threes or 7 threes where you got a good shot. And I think he's done a good job shooting over guys. He's shot a couple contested threes, step back threes. So you've seen some more consistency there. That's got to continue. I don't think expecting Pat to score 15 points a game on his current role is going to happen. He had under 15. He's a career 15% usage rate. And I had Steph Noah look this up from the other day because I'm computer illiterate, but there's only 10 guys in NBA history that have had a 15 usage rate or worse and have scored over 12 points per game. And the highest of those was Mikal Bridges. He scored just over 14 points per game on that usage. So his usage has to increase. If you want his points per game to increase, he has to do more. It doesn't necessarily have to be on-ball reps. Those would be helpful. But he's got to take some more corner threes. He's got to dive to the basket more. He's got to do more in his role. So I think those are all fair criticisms. I think those are all fair expectations to have for him. But you got to take it into context and just remember that he's only played 2 years. Like it doesn't have to happen right now. Time is short in the NBA. You have less time than you think. So he's got to get going, but I think he's on a good trajectory, and I don't think there's any reason to believe that he's a bust or that, I understand disappointment in certain areas, but I think overall, I think he's been pretty impressive in a lot of areas, in the areas that have really mattered to this team, which is we need defense and we need 3-point shooters. He's done pretty well on both those, and he's on the right track. So he's just got to continue. I thought it was interesting that Jaden McDaniels just got a big extension, about $27.5 million per year. They are very similar players in their role, which is Jaden McDaniels is a very good defensive player, very switchable. He's I think much further along than Patrick is on that end, as far as just kind of his overall consistency and versatility on the defensive end. But their offensive stats are almost identical. Jaden gets the rim, is a little bit better finisher in the lane. Patrick's a little bit better of a 3-point shooter, but their attempts are about the same. Their points per game are about the same. Their assists and steals and blocks and everything else is very, very similar. And, the biggest difference is Jaden is a year older, and, he's in a kind of a similar role where his offensive role is, fourth or fifth banana oftentimes in on his team. So he just got $27.5 million a year. And so I know Danny Avdia was another one who got much less than that. I think he was getting 13 a year, 14 a year, something like that. And so I think, Patrick Williams was kind of rumored to be seeking around, 20 something million a year. And I think for that production and his age, I think that's the kind of value that you're probably looking at, or teams are looking at. It didn't get done because that's kind of the Bulls' MO. But, Patrick has already shown enough to warrant that kind of deal because we've seen it happen to a couple other guys. I know we've talked about Pat a lot, but I'm excited to see him grow some more. What I'm not excited about is fans in the media just crucifying him every time he has a bad game. Just let the man grow, give him time. Let's talk at the end of the year and look at the whole body of work instead of just focusing on one game or one quarter, or whether he's starting or whether he's finishing or whether he's coming off the bench. None of that really matters to me. I don't care how many rebounds he gets. I don't care. I don't care what his points per game are. I just want him to consistently get better at his all-around game and take advantage of the opportunities that are given to him. So, right. I think we do have. Well, we're almost an hour into this actually, and we haven't really talked about Dalen or Julian Phillips or the end of the bench, but I think the Bulls have a really solid 10 deep, rotation. The end of the bench is a little bit sketchier. I think Dalen Terry has had a really, really rough everything, basically since the season ended. He showed some flashes whenever he got minutes in the season, but I thought his summer league was rough. His preseason was rough. After just saying we need to be patient, I'm not seeing much of any flashes with Dalen yet. And I'm not sure if you do, but I wanted to give you a chance to talk about what you've seen from Dalen and also what you've seen from Julian Phillips, and hopefully some positive spots for both of them.
Yeah. Just like, I think the biggest thing, like you said, being patient. Like you had just talked about being patient with Pat, but then saying that about Dalen. But I think with Pat, like his highs are fairly high. Like when he does some stuff, you're like, oh my God, there it is. With Dalen, you don't really get those. You don't really get the like, there it is. That's it right there. Like I think there's just he has a long way to go in terms of becoming a consistent NBA player. And I think the things that stand in Dalen's way are, one, he has to be able to shoot the three better. Because if he's able to shoot the three better, his true skill, his true NBA skill will be able to come out and play. Like he'll be able to attack hard closeouts and play off of that. And that's where he really makes plays is, attacking closeouts, making that beautiful extra pass to either a skip to the open shooter in the corner or a lob to the rolling big, or from the to the big that's in the dunker spot, or throwing no look bounce pass to a cutter. Like that's where he really likes to do his thing. But like no NBA team is going to respect him as a shooter until he starts to show that he can knock it down. The other thing is the other thing that was intriguing, or you thought that he would be able to do, is be able to be a bigger kind of being able to handle the ball a little bit. Well, I don't think you can trust him to handle the ball really that much in the half court either. And the third thing is the finishing. Like I think we all can say that it hasn't been a sight to see. Like he's not finishing at the rim. And those are three things: dribble, shoot, and you got to be able to pass the ball. But the thing is passing really flourishes in transition. So I won't say three. I'll say two things. You got to be able to shoot, and you got to be able to dribble the ball a little bit and finish. So I'm just really not trying to be harsh to Dalen. I just think there's a lot of things he has to get going to really be an NBA player. And as for Julian, man, I gotta be honest with you, man. I wasn't happy with this pick. I simply wasn't. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I wasn't happy with the Julian Phillips pick. There was a few other guys that I would have been happy with, Maxwell Lewis. Even my guy, my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Jalen Slauson. Like I would have liked him. Trace Jackson Davis as a big that you'd like to groom and hopefully develop. And for when Vooch is done, maybe he can end up being a starting type big. Yeah, man. I mean, I wasn't happy with it, but I love the flashes that I've seen in terms of what I said with Pat, where his highs are highs. I think you're seeing some really good things with the flashes with Pat. I mean, with Julian are there. Like, I like as a scout, like I'd like to grade the flashes because I believe like if you put it all together, that's what it is. Like that's what it could be. And being able to, the defense was always going to be something that popped because I think that was his best skill anyway, was the defense. So the block shots, being able to slide his feet and stay in front of ball handlers, switching, like all that stuff is really cool to see. Offensively, though, the 3-point shot has looked better than I thought it was going to look. Cutting, doing all those things, like he's done a really good job. So I think Julian, he may not see a lot of time at all this season, but I think the way he looked in the summer league and also in preseason, I think there's something there with him. So, hey, man, let's see it, man. I think there's something there with Julian, seriously. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, there's no injuries. Knock on wood. And he can just have his time to develop his on his timeline and not rushed into play when he's not ready. So, yeah, man, I think Julian's a player. I think there's something there with him.
I agree. I think your assessment on both players is spot on for me because with Dalen, I think the biggest issue is he needs to improve seriously on a couple of those things. I think finishing was the one that I'm most worried about, is when he gets to the rim. I feel like it gets to the rim pretty easily. When he gets there, it's like he's not really sure what to do with it. Doesn't kind of have that finesse, or doesn't put the English on the ball. Like he's just kind of throwing the ball up there in the direction of the rim. And I think he shot like 5% overall in the preseason, which is not great. To put it lightly.
Yeah.
But here's the issue: it's the process from the front office that boggles my mind on this one, because it's like Pat, right? If you're gonna take a guy 4th overall that needs development, and Pat needed development, he needed to be a top 4 pick in the sense of, hey, we're gonna make sure this is our guy. We're gonna put the ball in his hands. We're gonna feature him. Once you decided, so the Pat thing, they reverse course, and that's kind of explains some of that stuff. But after they reverse course, then they drafted then they drafted Dalen Terry, who was not ready to contribute at all. When there were guys like Christian Braun, Walker Kessler, Walker Kessler. Like there are other guys, Malachi Branham. Like there are other guys there that were more ready to contribute and fit the skill set and needs of the team a lot more than Dalen. So Dalen's not going to get the reps. I know our guy Darnell Mayberry is like calling for Dalen to get more minutes last year, but it just didn't make sense on the team. And it still doesn't make sense because what does Dalen do that Io isn't doing already? or Caruso isn't doing already. You know, like there's guys in front of him that are doing the same stuff way better without the limitations that he has. So what Dalen needs is a lot of time in the G League this year to just work on his game in the role that's going to help the team, because I really don't think that he's going to be able to contribute during this window at all. And to me, that feels like a wasted pick. Nothing against Dalen. Dalen obviously got to a first-round pick for a reason, but he needs the development that the front office and the team are not able to give him right now. And so with Julian, I agree with you. The flashes are there. To me, I would be putting Julian Phillips ahead of Dalen Terry in the rotation, because what Julian can do right now and the flashes he shows can be useful. I think he can kind of step into that maybe third power forward role, just give you a little bit of secondary rim protection, that switchability on defense, move his feet, take the open three. Yeah, obviously it's a break in case of emergency situation, but to me, he can do things at a competent enough level right now that I would break the glass on him before I break it on Dalen. So that's where we are. But as I said, that we got the first 10 that are pretty solid.
Yeah.
The other 5 are not. They got a lot to prove. And so for a team that really wants to win now, they're avoiding the tax and they're keeping dead money on the roster. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So with that bright note, I want to get into a more general discussion of predictions for this year, not just for the Bulls, but kind of for the league as a whole. It's just fun for us to do this, to be able to kind of just take what we know today and extrapolate for the year. So, we've done this before. I looked at my predictions again from last year, and some of them are right on the money and some of them are like completely off. So it'll be fun to look back a year from now and see what we got right, what we didn't. But I want to start with the standings predictions. So I want to go in tiers. So we'll do 1 through 6, and then we'll do 7 through 10, and then 11 through 15 in each of the conferences. Just kind of get that. To me, that's like the tiers of types of teams. You've got the surefire playoff teams, the play-in teams, and then the guys that are on the outside. Either they're tanking or they're just not good enough for the play-in. So let's start with the East. Give me, Larro, your first 6 in the East. Who you got, and in what order?
I got top seed, the Bucks. Number 2, I got Celtics. The 3rd seed, I'm a little iffy on, but Miami. I guess I could go between Miami and the Knicks. The 4th seed, I got the Knicks. 76ers 5th, and the Cavs 6th.
And yours are very different from mine. That's interesting. And then I'll give mine, then we'll talk about it for a minute here. But okay, my number 1 seed for the season, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Woo!
As my first seed. I have the Celtics 2nd. I got the Bucks 3rd. I got the Heat 4th. Sixers 5th. Knicks 6th. So here's my thing on the Cavs. The Cavs were 2nd in net rating last year overall. They were top 10 on offense and defense. They've got Evan Mobley, who is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, Jared Allen, and then you got Donovan Mitchell, you got Darius Garland, and these guys all get one more year under their belt together. They also addressed, I think, their biggest weaknesses, which was shooting, because they were relying on Isaac Okoro, who actually did improve as a shooter last year, but also like Cedi Osman and like Dean Wade and some guys that were a little bit more unproven. So they brought in Max Strus. They brought in George Niang. Both guys, they have their faults. Both guys can shoot the ball. They retained LeVert. So I think they're deeper this year. I think they addressed some weaknesses, and I think in the regular season they're going to be kind of a juggernaut. Not a juggernaut, but like I really think they're just going to rack up wins. They were on that path last year, and I think as long as they stay relatively healthy, they should be on track to be kind of a regular wins machine. Yeah. And the reason I have them over the Bucks and the Celtics, who both are better teams, and both I would take in the playoffs over the Cavs.
Yeah.
But the Bucks and the Celtics went all in on getting kind of their top end guys, and their top 5 or 6 guys are really, really good. But the drop off after that is pretty significant, and their top 6 guys are really reliant on health. The Bucks are a little older. Brook Lopez, he's old. Chris Middleton is in his mid 30s. Damian Lillard is in his 30s. And they just don't have a lot behind it. They've got, they got Pat Connaughton and Bobby Portis. But it kind of drops off pretty quickly. And then the Celtics, they traded Marcus Smart. Now they replaced Drew Holiday with him, who's, an upgrade, I think, in every way.
Mm-hmm.
And Kristaps Porzingis is going to be great, but Kristaps and Al Horford are not like pictures of health all the time. Al Horford's getting old. And then Robert Williams was their third guy, who was also not a picture of health, but then they traded him in the Drew Holiday trade. So I just think fully healthy, I think the Celtics and the Bucks are way ahead of the Cavs, but just because of the potential for injury and how much a regular season kind of takes a toll on a team. And if the Bucks and Celtics kind of have their eye on the prize rather than the regular season, that's kind of why I had the Cavs leapfrogging them. Now you had the Heat a little bit higher and the Knicks a little bit higher. What is it about the Heat and the Knicks that you think kind of puts them up into that higher tier?
Well, as for the Heat, I just believe, for one, in Eric Spoelstra, but also I think a fully healthy Tyler Hero is something, is a player that's really going to help this team. I know they lost a pretty key piece in our guy. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? He just went to the Lakers. I'm blanking on his name right now. My gosh. But the biggest thing for me overall is that I just believe Tyler Hero is going to take. I believe in Tyler Hero as a player, and I really think he's going to take another step as a player. And I think that's going to be something that's going to help Jimmy kind of preserve a little bit of himself. I think Bam is always going to be a player that you can lean on to anchor your defense. Hopefully he's going to get a little bit more aggressive offensively. So I just believe in that whole organization to, especially with Jimmy spearheading it, to be still kind of up there in this conference. And as for the Knicks, I got to be honest, man. I mean, I know a lot of people are down on RJ Barrett and aren't really, super in on him, but I just really like what they have going on there. I think Julius Randle is probably going to I wasn't the biggest Julius Randle fan, but I think last season he started to kind of win me over a little bit because he wasn't he was willing to do a little bit more than just be that, score, get the ball, kind of bruise a little bit. He was moving the ball a little bit, getting his teammates involved a little bit more. So I just really like what they got going on. I think Jalen Brunson is just a star. I really do. And I think that Manuel Quickly not getting, his rookie extension or his extension really is going to be something that helps him get to another, takes him to another spot to try to get that deal done. I already mentioned RJ. I love Quentin Grimes. I really do. And I think he's a player that probably is going to be continue to be slept on, but I think he's going to be a pretty damn good player this year. So I'm pretty high on those guys. And the reason why I think you had the 76ers pretty low as well, right?
I had them fifth. Yeah.
So we had the 76ers pretty much I had them fifth as well. So I mean, yeah, man. I mean, I'm pretty in on the Heat and the Knicks. I think being two pretty damn good teams in the conference. I just think, going back to, the Bucks situation is obviously they're going to have to stagger Damian and Giannis. But I think if you have Damian on the floor and, he sits and you got Giannis on the floor, I think Campaign is a very good backup point guard. I think his ability to shoot the ball. I think they have some guys, the way they built the roster. I know they're not, the best of guys, but I do think they have some shooting. Malik Beasley being there, Robin, Middleton, Jay Crowder, if he can get back to what he usually is. I mean, I think they theoretically they have enough. I think they have the shooting to kind of help with spacing the floor and allowing, Giannis to, mismatch Hunt and things like that. So, yeah, man, I just really believe in, again, like you said, barring, you always have to factor in injuries. You know what I mean? So that may be something that knocks off my prediction, but I just this team is going to be very tough to beat, in my opinion. So
yeah,
we'll see, man. But yeah, man, I'm just really high on the Bucks, man. I really am, and I know as a Bulls fan, I probably shouldn't say that, but the Bucks are probably going to be box office for me. I need to. I've always wanted to see Damian Lillard with another bona fide star, and we got it. Just sucks that it's in our conference, but is what it is. What it is. It is what it is.
No, it's interesting. Even though we had a little bit of different in differentiation, I think your reasoning for the Heat, especially, I had them fourth, is solid. The Bucks are going to be so much fun to watch, as you said. Giannis with Damian Lillard is going to be just spectacular television. And we had the same first six. So I think we're kind of agreed. And I think most people would have those six in the East pretty much locked in some order. And I think most people have the Cavs and the Celtics and the Bucks kind of a tier above everyone else in the East. So let's get that 7 through 10 mix, because I think that there are probably 6 teams here for those 4 spots. So I'll do mine first. I have the Bulls 7th, the Hawks 8th, the Pacers 9th, and the Raptors 10th. And I have, but there's like 6 teams here that I think could be in those 4 spots. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Bulls finish 12th or 7th. And any of those teams, you could kind of make an argument for them. So who are your 4 teams, 7 through 10?
Oh, man. So I got the Nets 7th. I got the Bulls 8th. I got the Pacers 9th. And for the 10th team, this is probably going to, I don't know, rub some people the wrong way. But, you know what? Forget it. I'll go Raptors.
No. What do you got? Say it with your chest.
I'm a big fan of the Magic, man. I think they're gonna shock some people this year. So yeah, man, I was gonna go Magic, but
they're right there. They're right there on that cusp, right? I wanted to put them 10th.
Yeah,
like 3 different times. They're right there. I've got them 11th. I've got 11th. So tell me why you got the Nets high, because in my view, what happened last season is they had a big buffer because they got KD on their team.
Yeah.
And then when KD left, they took a big slide and they ended up finishing 6th. But what is it about them this year that you think kind of puts them at the top end of that kind of that cluster of teams?
Well, one of the reasons I still have them there is I think this season a lot of people are going to wake up about just how good Nick Claxton is as a defensive player, not just a rim protector, but an overall really good defensive player. And I think to start that off, to have somebody like that that's able to protect the rim, that's going to help this team a ton. You combine that with the ability of a healthy Ben Simmons being able to cause havoc on the perimeter. Couple that, add the other player of Mikal Bridges, who also is a really good defender. And then you add in the shooting they can have around them. I just really think this team is a little bit more talented than people think. And I know it hinges, and not to mention, Spencer Dinwiddie is still there. So I just really think, man, and a lot of this is kind of theoretical because a lot of it is connected. My prediction is connected to Ben Simmons, because if Ben looks like he has in the preseason, just healthy, spry, playing that defense the way he used to play, being that ball handler that attacks the paint and kicks out the shooters and creating offense, like this team's going to be another team that I think can be tough, man. And I honestly feel like I'm just really high on them, man. I mean, they got, you got Cam Johnson as another. They got some shooting around, especially around Ben Simmons, right? We all know he's not going to kill you from the perimeter. We know that, but like his ability to get into the paint, draw help, find shooters. You got Mikal Bridges, right? You got Cam Johnson. I mean, I just really believe in this team as like, I'm not like some, juggernaut, but a team that really can battle with being, anywhere from that, like 7 to 10, anywhere in between there. I'm not saying that they're a bona fide 7, but I really believe in, if Ben Simmons is the guy that I think he looked like, this team is going to be tough, man. They're going to be a tough team to beat. I'm really excited to see how this team looks. I mean, I'm thinking as I'm talking here because I'm just I think the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm really liking it. So I'm thinking about Lonnie being there. I'm thinking about Dorian Finney-Smith, and if Cam Thomas is another guy that can come off the bench and add some instant offense. I mean, Royce O'Neal. I mean, this team, they got some guys that, if Ben Simmons, I think Ben Simmons is the glue. Like, if he is again, I've probably said it like 3 times already. If he is the guy that he looked like this in the preseason, man, I'm looking out for him. I mean, man. Yeah. So I'm sorry, man. I'm
watching you talk yourself into them even more. You make some good points, and they've got a deep team of like high end role players / low level stars.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think the star power or the lack of star power, even though I really like Mikal Bridges, I just don't think he's quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he may never get there. And the fact that we have to rely on Ben Simmons to kind of be that glue, that's where I'm a little iffy. If I'm trying to, we're trying to nitpick here between these teams, these 6 teams. And so that's where I ended up putting, the Bulls, Hawks, Pacers above them, because I just thought they got a little more star power. They've proven themselves a little bit more. But you're right. I mean, it could all flow really well together. They should have a really, really good defense.
Yeah.
They should be able to put up a lot of threes because they got like every wing that you'd want. They got Ben Simmons on the perimeter. They've got Nick Claxton down below. Like he is, I think, was really overlooked once KD left.
Yeah.
But he really was like a defensive player of the year candidate, and it would have been deserving if he had been voted, if he'd received those votes. So yeah, that's a tough one. I think the one that I want to talk about is the Pacers. I feel like the Pacers are still 1 year away, but Tyrese Halliburton is so good that it's hard to just count him out. But I feel like they're still trying to develop like Ben Mathurin. They've got guys in the wings coming up, but Rick Carlisle is such a good coach, and Tyrese Halliburton's so good that it wouldn't surprise me if they got like 6th, or it wouldn't surprise me if they got 12th, because just they've got the pieces there. I feel like they're not quite coalescing, but I think in a year we're going to be really, really excited about where the Pacers are at. So I wasn't quite sure where to put them. I ended up putting them like basically right at 500. And then the Raptors are kind of in that same boat where they're in the same boat as the Bulls, where they haven't actually an even worse spot than the Bulls, where the Bulls have picked a direction. They're just not very good at it. The Raptors have not picked a direction, but they've got a nice collection of talented players. I'm not as big of a believer in Scotty Barnes as a lot of people are, I think. He's got to put together a lot still, but he's very talented in a lot of ways. But I don't see them being a 500 team this year, and especially with Pascal and his status, I think they end up, they got to make a decision on him. And the vibes were not good last year with the Raptors, so that's kind of where I have them. I have them at 10th, but I just have them just a smidge above the Magic. And the reason why is because I just don't trust the Magic's offense quite enough yet. I love Wendell Carter. You know it. I know it. Wendell Carter's my guy. Really, really good. Paolo, Franz, amazing. They're going to be multi-time All-Stars. And I do think Markelle Fultz is super underappreciated. And Jonathan Isaac looks really good again on defense. But I just think that I thought they had a chance this summer to really go all out and get like a really high quality, two guard, or a really high quality shooting guard, or just a shooter in general. And they end up getting Joe Ingles, who is okay, but clearly feels like a stopgap to me. They're like, well, let's just see if we put someone that kind of fits that role in, and just to see kind of how it works this year. And then maybe next year we'll kind of go all in and find someone that's better suited. So I just feel like they're also a year away, but they could also sneak into that kind of 9-10 range to me. So that leaves the last 11 through 15. I've got the Magic right there. I've only have them one win below the Raptors in the 10th spot, so not too bad. The Nets, I have the bottom just because of the things I told you before.
Yeah.
Then I have the Hornets, the Pistons, and the Wizards. The Hornets are talented, but they got so much crap going on over there.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot going on around LaMelo, but they were also a really good team when they were healthy. Like they were a 40-ish, win team when they were healthy. So but someone's got to go. And to me, it's like the dysfunction level is high enough there that like that's who I'm picking. And then the Pistons and the Wizards, obviously the Wizards are tanking, and the Pistons I think are going to make a little bit of a stride, but they were at like 19 wins last year. So, I've got them picking up 6 or 7 wins, maybe 8 wins this next season, but that's kind of it. How do your last tier play out for you?
Man, now that I'm thinking about it, I was looking at my list. Am I underestimating the Hawks? I don't know.
I don't know.
My
here's why. I'm interested in the Hawks because I do think Trey is better than he's been given credit for recently. He said it himself. But I also I don't know, the Trey vibes have just never quite been there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a really talented player, but I'm not sure. But Onyeka is really good.
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson is really good. And both those guys should see more minutes this year. So I think that they got a little bit of addition by subtraction, trading John Collins, who's good, really good player, but just clearly wasn't working around that team. So they needed to change. So I do think that the minutes that have been opened up by his departure, I think are going to be filled in a really positive way. So we'll see. But I think I could see the Hawks having a high ceiling and also a low floor.
Yeah.
In that group. So I have him at 8th right now, but I could even see him as high as like 5th, but I could also see him at 12th. And, they have Quinn Snyder as well. Quinn Snyder's a really good coach. So to me, it's like more should go right for the Hawks this year than should go wrong. So that's why I have him a little bit higher in that tier.
Okay. All right. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Magic at 10. Okay. 11, I'm going to go Raptors. 12, I'm going to go Charlotte. 13, Detroit. 14, my gosh, man. Okay.
Who we leaving out here?
Hold on.
Have you said the Hawks yet?
I'm thinking out loud here. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna bump the Raptors down to 12. We're gonna make Atlanta 11. Okay. And
this jumble's so crazy, man. This 6-team jumble is so crazy right now.
It is.
It's so hard to figure these teams out, including the Bulls. The Bulls could be 12th.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me
at all. Okay, my bad. I'm just making sure I get it in order here. Okay. All right. So we got Atlanta at 11. We got Detroit at 15, and then obviously the Wizards are gonna round it out.
But here's the thing, Larro. Even the Wizards, they got Tyus Jones, they got Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma is really good.
Yep.
Like Denny Avdia is a nice defender. Like they got some guys. Like they're gonna catch some teams off guard. Like there's no team in the East right now, at least on paper today, that looks like an easy win. Like Detroit to me seems like an easier win on the schedule than the Wizards.
Yeah.
But even Detroit, they're trying. They got a lot of young talent. They got talented guys. Like it's gonna be a bloodbath.
I think the ingredient that is a wild card for me for the Wizards is what Jordan Poole are they getting? Are they getting the Jordan Poole that is trying to win? Or are they getting the Jordan Poole that wants to show this is what I could have done if Steph and Draymond and that team would have let me do it? Right? Is he gonna be one of those players that is an anchor and sinks the ship, or is he gonna be somebody that uses his scoring ability to help, the team become a better team? So I hope it's
that. I suspect it might be the former, but I do hope for Jordan Poole's sake because he seems like a good dude.
Yeah,
I hope that's the case. That he's able to kind of help him and his team flourish at the same time. All right, so let's get into the West.
Yes, sir.
Which is also going to be a bloodbath.
Yep.
So I'll start with my 1 through 6, and then you'll give yours. So here's what I got. I got Nuggets.
Yep.
Warriors, Suns, Lakers, Timberwolves, and surprise, the Oklahoma City Thunder is my 6th.
Okay.
And I am not super confident about any of that. I'm actually super confident about. I do think the Nuggets, Warriors, Suns, and Lakers are all going to be pretty solid.
Yeah.
I believe in the Wolves and I believe in the Thunder, but I think a lot could go wrong with either team. Like the Thunder might just not be there quite yet.
Yeah.
And the Wolves, we saw how it played out last year. Cat missed a ton of time. The Rudy Gobert fit was a little bit shaky, but Finch is a great offensive coach.
Yeah.
And Anthony Edwards is a burgeoning superstar. So I have faith, and Jaden McDaniels is really good defensively. Naz Reid is Naz Reid.
Yep.
They got a lot of stuff there. So that's my top 6. What do you got?
So I have Denver, number 1, Suns, Warriors. Where am I at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So I got Denver 1, Phoenix 2, Warriors 3, Kings 4, 5 Lakers, 6 Mavs.
Okay. It's tough, man, because here's my thing on the Mavs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll talk about the Kings. The Mavs had a really nice offseason, but this franchise is a little bit unserious right now. They're starting 2 rookies in the starting lineup. I think they got to get to business. Josh Green needs to be in the starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know if Lively is quite ready. Their center room is not super great, but I also think Richaun Holmes is a really good player. He just didn't fit the Kings at all. So I hope he finds some success there. But they got Luka and Kyrie, which makes me high on them. But the rest of the picture is like, the drop off is really high, like really bad after that. Like Josh Green, you know my guy Max Kleba. I love Max Kleba. But there's just a lot there that's like iffy. So that's why I'm a little bit worried about them. And then the Kings.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people saying, well, they were so healthy, teams are going to be more ready for them. I think they're going to be good again. I've got them just outside of the top 6, but I think they're going to be pretty good. You think they're going to repeat as a top 4 seed?
I do.
What do you got? Tell me why you got that confidence.
So I think De'Aaron Fox is going to continue to take another step. I think he's when you think about like what this league is about, I mean, you need a guy like a De'Aaron Fox at your point guard position, somebody that can continuously create advantages for your team. I think you have your starting center is a perfect big that fits that team to a T. That perfect. He's not Jokic at all. And when it comes to a hub, your offensive hub, but he's definitely right. He's very high on the list. So I think the offense is going to continue to be there. When you think about Kevin Huerter, somebody that adds, continues. He's somebody that I wish the Bulls had in terms of his shooting variation. He can come off screens and shoot. He can catch and shoot. He can catch and shoot. He can shoot off the dribble. So like he adds that to the table. And I just really, Harrison Barnes, another guy that can, space the floor and attack closeouts. And they got nice pieces. And then you think about somebody that's, may be my candidate for sixth man of the year this year, and Malik Monk coming off the bench that, can be, just an
how dare you, by the way,
player.
How dare you?
But yeah, man, I mean, I just believe, I don't think what they were last season was a fluke. I think that the way they play basketball, very electric, very, moving the ball, really nice offense, just playing just enough defense. And I think Keegan Murray continues to take another step. And if he does, man, I mean, my gosh, that team is still going to be pretty good, man. I just really believe in who they are. I believe in that coach and Mike Brown. I mean, hey, that's where I'm at with them. I just believe in the team that they are. I think they are the, part of that top four right now of that conference that you just got to go through if you want to win a title. So, you're going to always have to fight through the Kings. That's just the way I think they flipped the whole, what Kang's going to Kang. I don't think that's anything. I don't think you can say that anymore. I think this is a very good team, and they are built to be a good team for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree on their future. I think they're going to be a good team again. It's just the West is really tight, I think, in that kind of really, other than the Nuggets, I'm not even sure the Nuggets are going to end up with the number one seed. I think they're the best team, but even they took kind of a step back in some ways. Yeah, it's tough. So, this 7 through 10 range, I've got the Kings at 7, so I have them just one win less than the Thunder.
Yep,
and only 2 wins less than the 5th seed. So, and then the Grizzlies, I had the Grizzlies higher.
Yeah,
I had them in the top 6, but then the Steven Adams news came out, and so I dropped them a little bit. They're still going to be pretty solid. Like, they're just a really solid team. They were missing Steven Adams. They've done that before, but between that and the Ja Morant suspension, I just think it's so tight that those few wins are going to make a difference. I've got the Mavs 9th, and I got the Clippers 10th.
Okay.
Just the reasons I said before with the Mavs, and then the Clippers, it's really all about health. I mean, if they're fully healthy, they're a top 4 seed to me. I think they're better than the Lakers when healthy. I think they might be better than the Warriors when they're healthy, but you just don't know. Like, PG and Kawhi are great players. I mean, Kawhi is an absolute force when he's healthy to this day. You saw what he did to the Suns single-handedly.
Yeah.
When he was healthy. So, and they got some quality depth, and they look to be making a move. I know we didn't really talk about this with the Sixers, but I'm assuming that the Sixers stay pat and that Harden stays there and for that 5th seed. But yeah. Anyways, that's my 7 through 10. So who do you got 7 through 10 on your end? Guessing the Thunder in there somewhere.
So I actually had so the Mavs were my 6th seed. I had the Thunder right after the Mavs. So okay. I think both of those teams can really, they'll be fighting for that spot there. But after that, I have the Grizz. I had, like you said, I had the Grizz a little bit higher, but I think compounded with, the Steven Adams injury, the suspension to Ja as well. As much as I've always been, never mind. Forget about that part. I just think the Grizz are just going to take a couple steps back because of both those things that are kind of holding them back. Tyus Jones is not there anymore. That would have been a big boon for them, to somebody that has proven that they can really take hold of that team while Ja was gone in multiple occasions. And then 9, I have the Wolves, and 10, I've been going back and forth. But I'm going to go Clippers and 10.
Mm-hmm. Not too different there. So 11 through 15, I've got the Pelicans. The Pelicans are one where they've got so much talent, but man, the injury train just keeps rolling there.
Yeah.
And it's brutal. It's just brutal right now. So I just don't know if they're fully healthy. I think they're a top 6 seed, but they're just, I don't know if they're ever going to be healthy. The Rockets I've got at 12. I think they're going to be kind of in that low 30s win team. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be knocking teams off. But there's just so much improving stuff there that they're going to jumpstart that rebuild a little bit. Then I got the Rockets next. I'm sorry, the Jazz next. I think they've got an incentive to tank a little bit or not be in that play-in picture. And then I got Spurs and Blazers as I round up my last two. But both teams are going to be super fun to watch.
Yeah, no, I agree. So for mine, I mean, this is a team that last season was a laughing stock. Okay, they were laughing stock, and they just had a whole bunch of young guys running around acting rambunctious, not playing team basketball. They needed veteran presence, and they inserted that team with Fred VanVleet, somebody that's from around the area that I'm from, and they brought over Dylan Brooks, who I think I know that he's been in the news for being kind of a little bit crazy, calling out LeBron and saying he's not a villain when he's clearly trying to be the villain. But I think both those players are really nice ads, because I think that those are kind of guys you need. You need that defender. You need that guy that's gonna, kind of be. Both those guys are gonna be outspoken. They're gonna kind of be those guiding, the guidance counselors for those young guys, if you will. So, I do think that team has a chance to be like 11, 10, 9, somewhere around there. They could. But it depends on how these young guys gel, and I think that, man, I really think that team's going to have a chance to kind of maybe slip into a play-in, I think. So so I had the Rockets 11. I had the T-Wolves at 12, which sounds crazy right now that I said that out loud. But man, Chris, that sounds crazy to me right now that I say that out loud. We'll just we'll circle back and we'll talk about it. But yeah, so the T-Wolves at 12. I'm gonna go Pels 13, Spurs 14, Blazers 15.
T-Wolves, man, you can see it going poorly, you can see it going really well, but it's gonna be interesting to see. All right, so now we got our predictions here. Let's go through kind of the individual awards. So start with MVP. Who do you got for MVP this year?
Giannis. I think
you got Giannis.
Nice. Yeah. I really, really think this is a year where, man, I think Giannis is really gonna take hold of this league. And it's funny enough, I think if I remember, I think him and Dame have always wanted to play with each other on the same team. So I think this is a year he kind of goes back and gets himself an MVP. Maybe get another title. Who knows?
That's a bold claim. It's not far-fetched. It's not far-fetched at all, especially with Dame there next to him. So that's a good call. My MVP is Jokic. I don't know. It's kind of a boring, safe pick, but the man does it all. So I just, even if you read my piece that came out this last week on defense, defensive playmaking and cognitive athleticism, the man does it there too. in his own way, and he's just an incredibly special player. So yeah, that's my pick there. Rookie of the year, I've got Victor Wembanyama.
Mhm.
I know that is kind of a boring pick. I could also see Scoot going for it too.
Mhm.
Scoot's gonna have the runway. What do you think on rookie?
So I have written down for rookie of the year Wemby, but I think that Chet's a little pissed off. I think that
Yeah,
Chet is he's a very fiery competitor type of guy that you would hear it. You heard it in his interview with Kevin Garnett. Like, I think he's a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Annoyed that this Wemby love is going around, and they're kind of forgetting what type of player he could be. So I would say Wemby as my first choice, but I could see Chet kind of like
yeah.
shaking the league up this year.
You could tell what he was about, and people have always said that he's got that nasty about him. Like he's got that dog in him.
Also, too, I think I know you don't like to watch a lot of like not NBA like college or high school, but like if you wanted to, just on a day that you're bored, if you want to go watch like the USA versus France, you'll see the Wemby versus Chet matchup. And Wemby got the best of him. So I kind of feel like there's a little bit of like, okay, yeah, he got me, and he wants to get him back. And so, yeah, man. I mean, these are two of the we as basketball sickos got two of the better. Wemby could be the best, but two of the better shot blocking prospects, win protecting prospects we've ever seen. So like, it's really cool. It really is cool, man. This game is changing. But anyway, yeah. So Chet, I think Wemby is my one, but it wouldn't surprise me if Chet was the guy to pick to hold up that trophy.
Yeah. No, that's really fun. Yeah, Chet's super fun to watch. That Thunder team is going to be must watch for me this year.
Man.
And there'll be another guy on that team I'm going to be bringing up a little bit later as well.
Hey.
All right, defensive player of the year. I said Evan Mobley last year. I'm going to say it again this year.
Yeah.
I'm riding the Mobley train. I'm still on it.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. And I have the Cavs finishing first in the East, and I think they're going to finish third at worst in my mind. So I think Mobley's going to be right there in that consideration.
Yeah, I think, I wrote down, I was thinking about this when I was writing this stuff down here, but I said Evan Mobley, but then I thought about it. I said, I think this is the year that Nick Claxton really just takes over the league in terms of
he's my second.
Know who it is. Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's my second.
I picked Nick Claxton to win Defensive Player of the Year this year.
That's a good call, man. Yeah, and we'll see what the Nets are, but I think the Nets are going to be. It could be a really elite defensive team,
man.
And if they show out and they're in that playoff mix, then I think he's going to get a lot of love there. All right, sixth man of the year. We both have the same guy.
Yep.
I just think with the Kings offense being what it is, and Malik has the greenest light right now, I just think he makes a lot of sense there. I don't see him slowing up anytime soon. He's found his role. He's thriving in it. So I don't know about you, but I'm not sure what else there is to say about that. But I think Malik Monk, other than that, like guys I could see doing it. I'm trying to think. It depends. If Chris Paul comes off the bench for real, I think he could be in that mix. Same thing with Tyler Hero, but I think Tyler's going to be starting. I'm trying to think of if there's another guy that was kind of in that mix. I think I had the 6-man odds up earlier. Let me see if I can find them. This makes for a great podcast. We had Quickly's up there, Malcolm Brogdon, Norman Powell, Derek White. Derek White was another one, but I think he's going to start too. It looks like they're going to start him next to Drew. Maybe Josh Hart would be another kind of solid candidate there. So we'll see. All right, coach of the year. I've got Bickerstaff because I got the Cavs being up there. but I also had Mark Dagnall
Yeah.
as potential as my second. I went back and forth between them. Who you got for your coach?
Mine was actually Mark Dagnall. So I did write down Chris Finch.
I think that's a solid choice too. Yeah.
The thing with the T, like you said it, man, like the Timberwolves, man. I mean, they got pieces. They got pieces. So I mean, yeah, I could see Chris Finch really leading that group, and they can, be, really successful this year. So I did have Chris Finch, but I think the best option is probably Mark Dagnall. So yeah.
All right, most improved player. This one's always a crapshoot.
Yeah,
but I'm interested to see what you say on this one.
So there's two players I had. Okay. My first one was Cade Cunningham. My second one, and this is going to come off homerish, but I think Kobe White has a chance to win that award.
That's interesting. I don't think that's a bad pick at all. My only concern with the Kobe thing is I'm not sure he's going to be able to score enough points in his role to really get that kind of national shine. Yep. But I do think what I said this year, I said this on another podcast, I think that Kobe's improvement happened so much last season, but I think he's going to get a lot more recognition of that improvement this year. I think he's going to get much more nationally recognized for that improvement. So maybe he will win it because of that, but that's interesting. Yeah, Cade Cunningham is my second. I think he's got a chance to kind of have a resurgent year after what he's gone through. But my guy is Jalen Williams, J-Dub on the Thunder. I think he's only going to be in his second year, but man, he was fun. He's just really fun. So I don't know what'll happen. It really kind of depends on the Thunder's fortunes, but he's got the talent there to really kind of take a big step. And hopefully the Thunder are kind of more on the national stage this year than they have been in the past. So that's it. So those are the individual awards. Let's do playoff predictions. Who do you have as your Eastern Conference Finals teams?
So what do I have written down here? I got this will tell you how much I'm in on them, but the Bucks versus Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's what I got too. I got too. What about West Finals?
Where am I written down? Again, you're gonna see how I feel about this team. Nuggets versus Kings.
Oh dang, got Kings in the finals. Okay, I got Nuggets Warriors. Maybe that's boring, but I think the Warriors, man. I think they got one more run in them. I'm worried about them.
I can see that. Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Who's your finals matchup then? You get the Kings in the finals?
Nah. No. I think Jokic would be too much. But I got Bucks versus the Nuggets, and I can hear the European overseas folks saying they're taking over the NBA, and I could hear it. I could hear it.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I know, right?
Those guys have earned it. They've earned it.
Man, have they? But yeah, so I got Bucks versus Nuggets in the finals.
I have the same. I got Bucks Nuggets, and for my trophy winner next year, I got the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm on your train, man. I think the Bucks are going to do it.
It's going to be so cool to see. Okay, let me not talk like that. The season hasn't even started yet. But if that were to happen, it'd be so cool to see Damian Lillard as a champion. It really would. I know he's going through some stuff off the court, but it would be cool to see him as a champion.
Who's your finals winner?
This one was a tough one for me because I love Jokic. I love watching Jokic and Murray. Man, but it's the Bucks, man. I really, really think the Bucks are gonna do it. I do.
Oh man, Bucks and 6.
And then you forget about Chris Middleton. You forget about Rob.
Man, Chris Middleton's so good.
So
yeah,
Brook Lopez, not Rob, but he's still on the team. Brook Lopez, I should say. But yeah, man. I mean, that team is still. I mean, gosh, man, that team is gonna be tough to play, man. They're gonna be tough.
4 times a year, man. 4 times a year, the Bucks are playing the Bulls. But it's gonna be really fun to watch. That's a good test to have in your own comp. Man, they got They got the Pacers. they got the Cavs. They got the Bucks. And then the quote unquote easy team is the Pistons.
Man,
and the Pistons always make it tough on the Bulls too. So they got nothing easy coming this year.
Nothing.
So man, we've talked about the Bulls, I think, pretty in depth. We spent an hour on the Bulls, and we spent another 50 minutes here on predictions. It's gonna be a really fun season. I'm so looking forward to it. I've missed being able to talk Bulls with you so much. I think one of the things I'm excited to do this year is really dive into the schemes and the plays on offense and defense. I think that's something that you and I can get into in a way that's more of our expertise. And I'm really just excited to kind of on a weekly basis talk about what the Bulls did that week from a scheme standpoint, from player development standpoint, not just talk about the box score and the win and loss record, but really what's going on the floor. And I think that's something we can provide. And so if you're listening to this for the first time, or you're coming back, or if you're a Bulls 101 listener, we appreciate you. We do get long-winded sometimes, but we are going to do audio only this year. So I know a lot of times our video ones would go long because we had a lot of clips. We're going to try and put clips on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it at this point. But I think most of our podcast is going to be still focused on that type of thing, but just from an audio standpoint rather than a visual standpoint. And I think there's a lot that we can do there. So I'm excited, Larro. I'm really excited to have another year with you. Until you get hired out from under me again.
This guy. Yeah, we'll see about that.
No one would be more deserving. I'm just gonna say, if it happened, it happens, and I'm happy for you. But yeah, as of now, I'm excited to go through all 82 games with you.
It should be fun.
It's gonna be a really fun season. Any party words before we let the people go?
Man, just let's start a movement of watching the game and not just watching highlights, and try to come away with your own thoughts about a player, your own thoughts about what's going on. Because I think when you start to watch the game and you try to learn on your own, you start to pick up on your own thoughts. You start to pick up on like, oh, wow, okay, but he said this. I feel like this, right? Watch the game and let's not watch it just to, see a player fail. Let's not watch it to, just, fire off hot takes. Let's watch the game and come away with your own thoughts. I think that's the best way to go about this thing. So,
yeah. I would be remiss if I did not shout out my guy, Alex Caruso. I don't know how I went through an almost 2-hour podcast without talking about Alex Caruso, but if you haven't, I spent a lot of time writing an article for Swiss Theory about Alex Caruso, kind of as a centerpiece for it. I've got more coming, but we're on the Swiss Theory Network. We're going to have other podcasts coming this season that we're really excited about. So check out Swiss Theory. Make sure you're following their work. We've got over 30 contributors, and these guys really know ball. They're really, really good in the details. We have them covering a lot of different teams, and it's not like we're giving them specific assignments. These are things that they're interested in, that they want to talk about. So we're going to have definitely a focus in our podcast. Our podcast is going to be about the Bulls, but we're going to have more podcasts that kind of focus on highlighting that work. So definitely give Swiss Theory a follow if you haven't already. Leave them on notifications if you can, because the work that's coming out is going to be incredible this year. It was last year, and I think we're really making some inroads there. And we really got some special people. So thanks for tuning in with us. We love you guys. We're happy to be back. Happy to be talking about the Bulls every week. We get to talk about the Bulls, which is exciting now. Let's talk to us in February. See how we're feeling in February.
Seriously.
Excited for another Bulls season. And, it's not just about the wins and losses, like you said, Larro. It's about really kind of developing a deeper appreciation for basketball. And that's something that I love doing the podcast with you, because that's what I'm able to gain. I get a deeper appreciation for basketball, the players, the schemes. Like it's a beautiful game. So let's appreciate it. Let's enjoy it. And, not get so angry all the time about whether a player did this or did that, or whether the team did this or that. Like there's so much to be enjoyed in this sport. So let's keep it going. Follow Swiss Theory. Follow me on Twitter at KLA Hoops. Follow Larro at _Larro Hoops. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.